What if I told you that the oldest stories humanity ever wrote in the sky were never meant to limit you? What if the zodiac was not a box to place yourself inside, but a map of memory, a way our ancestors traced time, a way they projected their questions into the heavens so they could see them stretched across the dark? For thousands of years, we have lived beneath these shapes: the ram, the twins, the lion, the scales, the archer, each one a constellation with long histories woven from agriculture, migration, mythology, and human longing. When people looked upward, they were not seeking identity, they were searching for meaning in a world that often felt larger than their understanding. 12 constellations became familiar markers along the path the sun appeared to travel each year. 12 divisions of time, 12 seasons of work and rest, 12 stories to explain the cycles of life. What most people never realize is that the sky itself is not divided into neat equal slices. The sun does not spend identical periods within each constellation. It wanders, it lingers, it drifts, it moves in ways that do not match our calendars. Between late November and mid-December, the sun enters a region that ancient cultures noticed but rarely emphasized. A man holding a serpent, a figure wrestling and guiding to great coils of starlight. The Greeks called him Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. For many people today, this constellation feels like a secret, a missing chapter, something hidden or erased. In truth, every star map through history records Ophiuchus clearly. It was never removed from the sky. It was simply not included in the symbolic 12-part zodiac system that became popular in the West. The reasons are historical, older than mystical. The Babylonians preferred 12 because it fit their calendar. Later cultures preserved that structure because tradition is a powerful thing. Once a system holds for long enough, it becomes the lens through which generations see the world. But the symbolic absence of Ophiuchus still creates a sense of mystery. A quiet question: why was this figure not woven into the familiar cycle? What does the serpent bearer represent that made ancient astronomers observe him, but astrologers leave him standing just outside the gate? The myths surrounding Ophiuchus offer a possible answer. The Greeks associated him with Asclepius, a healer known for a kind of wisdom that frightened the gods. Stories say he learned the secrets of herbs from observing a serpent bring another back to life. Other tales say he could restore life itself. Myths often exaggerate to reveal deeper truths. In this case, Asclepius became a symbol of medicine, transformation, and the fragile boundary between life and death. A symbol so enduring that the rod with the serpent still represents healing across the world today. Whether literally or metaphorically, the image of a person holding a serpent invites interpretation. Serpents in ancient cultures often embodied renewal. Each time they shed their skin, people saw a symbol of rebirth, a reminder that nature constantly reinvents itself. The serpent also appeared in stories as a guardian of knowledge, a keeper of secrets hidden beneath the surface of the world. In some traditions, it represented the life force running through the spine. In others, it represented the duality of danger and wisdom intertwined. When we view the constellation through this lens, Ophiuchus becomes something more nuanced than a forgotten zodiac sign. It becomes a reminder that old systems, even beloved ones, do not capture the entire story. Human identity is more expansive than any symbolic framework. Spiritual experience does not fit neatly into 12 categories or 12 months or 12 traits. There is always something beyond the boundary, something just outside the recognized circle, something waiting to be rediscovered by each generation. In that sense, Ophiuchus symbolizes the overlooked, the unseen, the part of ourselves that lies outside what others expect. Many people grow up hearing phrases like "I am a Leo," or "I am a Capricorn," or "this is just my sign." These statements feel comforting. They offer a sense of belonging, but they can also create quiet walls, subtle boundaries that suggest our nature is fixed, that our tendencies are predetermined, that our inner life is something handed to us rather than something we shape. The ancient sky tells a different story. It tells us that the sun moves where it will, that time itself does not always match the boxes we build, that each person carries capacities that stretch beyond prediction. Ophiuchus reminds us that healing, transformation, and self-understanding often come from the places we overlook, from the hidden corners of our own awareness. As we move deeper into the symbolism, the serpent becomes a guide rather than a threat. In myth, a serpent is rarely simple. It can represent intuition awakening. It can represent knowledge rising through the body. It can represent the courage required to confront inner shadows. The stories of Asclepius teach that true healing does not come from avoiding the serpent, but from learning to hold it, to understand it, to respect its wisdom without being consumed by its power. This image appears across cultures. Shamans who received visions from encounters with serpent spirits, Egyptian deities adorned with serpent crowns to signify sovereignty over inner and outer realms. Hindu traditions describing Kundalini energy as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine rising toward higher awareness. Even the symbol of eternity, the Ouroboros, depicts the serpent completing the circle of time. When you view all these stories together, something remarkable emerges. The serpent is not a villain. It is a threshold, a doorway between ignorance and understanding, between forgetting and remembering, between unconscious living and conscious awareness. Ophiuchus stands at that threshold, holding the serpent with steady hands, not conquering it, not fearing it, but mastering the relationship. In a way, the serpent bearer becomes a symbol of integration, a figure who bridges sky and earth, instinct and intellect, life and death. He embodies the universal human journey to understand oneself, to heal the fractures within the psyche, to rise beyond old limitations and step into a larger sense of purpose. These ideas linger because they speak to something deep within us, a quiet intuition that we are more than the roles we adopt, more than the labels we repeat, more than the expectations of society. Each of us carries a part of ourselves that does not fit neatly into the familiar narrative. Like the 13th constellation, this part often waits in the background, unnamed, unclaimed, forgotten not by design, but by habit. When people rediscover Ophiuchus today, they often feel a spark of recognition, as if the missing piece in the sky reflects a missing piece within, not a literal destiny, but a symbolic reminder, an invitation to step beyond inherited frameworks, to question what you have been told about who you are, to explore the parts of your identity that have remained dormant. The zodiac as a symbolic system can be a useful mirror. It can help people explore inner tendencies and relationships, but it is only one of many mirrors, and no mirror shows every angle. The sky itself has always been larger than the symbols humans placed upon it. This is the deeper meaning of the forgotten sign. Ophiuchus invites us to consider the possibility that our consciousness is wider than the structures we rely upon, that growth requires curiosity, that healing requires self-compassion, that transformation often begins when we step outside the familiar 12-part circle and look toward the quiet region of the sky where a figure holds a serpent gently yet firmly. A figure who reminds us that wisdom is found not by avoiding complexity, but by integrating it. Ophiuchus asks us to look at ourselves with the same steadiness, to approach our inner serpent, our instinct, our memory, our hidden knowledge, to hold it without resistance, to learn from its presence, to let it guide us toward a more complete understanding of who we are. When you gaze at the night sky, it is easy to forget that every point of light you see is ancient. Some of those photons began their journey before the first human stories were ever told. Each star is a relic of time, and yet together they form the living myths that continue to shape our consciousness. Among them, Ophiuchus still stands quietly, the serpent bearer suspended between the constellations of Scorpio and Sagittarius. He has been there all along, untouched by our forgetting. The absence of his name in the common zodiac did not erase him. It only erased our awareness of what he represents. Now, as more people begin to remember, it feels less like discovering something new and more like remembering something we once knew by heart. The myth of Asclepius, the healer who became Ophiuchus in the stars, is not a story about defying the gods. It is a story about transcending fear. In those ancient tales, when Zeus cast a thunderbolt to strike him down, it was not to destroy knowledge, but to remind humanity of the responsibility that comes with power. Healing, resurrection, transformation, these are sacred acts that require wisdom and humility. The serpent he held symbolized that delicate balance. To awaken its energy is to awaken the potential for creation and destruction at once. In every age, civilizations have rediscovered this truth in their own language. The Egyptians spoke of serpentine life force as the rising of the Jed pillar, the awakening of stability within chaos. The Chinese symbolized it through the dragon, a creature of power and transformation. The Maya and Aztec saw the feathered serpent as a teacher of balance between earth and sky. Across continents, the serpent was never just a creature. It was a metaphor for the life force that winds through every being, connecting flesh to spirit and humanity to the cosmos. When viewed through this lens, the 13th constellation becomes more than a missing astrological sign. It becomes a bridge between worlds, an emblem of reintegration. For centuries, humans have organized their understanding of existence into patterns: 12 months, 12 signs, 12 houses, 12 disciples, 12 gates. 12 is a number of completion, of orderly cycles. But Ophiuchus, standing just beyond, reminds us that completion is not the end. Beyond completion lies transformation. 13, the number associated with the serpent bearer, is the number of renewal. It represents the spiral rather than the circle. Where the circle closes, the spiral opens. It is the movement of evolution itself, life renewing, learning, shedding, ascending. It is not an unlucky number. It is simply misunderstood. To include Ophiuchus in the symbolic journey of the soul is to acknowledge that awakening never ends. The story of the 12 signs describes the phases of human experience. The 13th is the realization that the journey is not linear. It is continuous. The wheel of life does not trap us, it teaches us. Once the lessons are understood, we transcend repetition, not by rejecting the cycle, but by understanding it from within. This is the wisdom of the serpent. It does not seek escape. It seeks transformation. It sheds its skin, not to flee from its nature, but to renew it. In the same way, the serpent energy within us, what some traditions call kundalini, represents the potential for self-renewal through awareness. It is not a physical serpent, but a symbol of the current of consciousness that flows through the human form. When people experience moments of deep awakening, they often describe sensations of rising energy, luminous light, or expanded awareness that feels both within and beyond the body. Ancient mystics encoded this experience into their languages of symbol and myth. They knew that enlightenment was not an intellectual achievement, but a physiological and energetic process of synchronization between the human field and the greater field of life. Ophiuchus, as the healer, represents that integration. He is not separate from the serpent, but in communion with it. He holds it, not in conflict, but in harmony. In that gesture lies the essence of healing. To heal is not to destroy what is dark, but to bring it into balance with light. The serpent bearer teaches that shadow and wisdom are intertwined, that true awareness embraces both. When we apply this to our inner life, we begin to see the subtle ways we resist our own serpent, the parts of ourselves we fear to confront. The anger, the grief, the uncertainty are the same forces that, once understood, become sources of strength and empathy. Every emotion carries energy. Suppressed, it becomes a blockage. Expressed with awareness, it becomes transformation. The serpent's energy rises each time we meet what we have avoided and choose to integrate it rather than deny it. Modern science, in its own way, observes something similar. Every thought, emotion, and intention corresponds to measurable changes in our neural patterns, heart rhythms, and electromagnetic fields. We are constantly broadcasting and receiving energy. The harmony or discord within us influences not only our well-being, but the environments we inhabit. Ancient teachers intuited this long before instruments could measure it. Their myths were ways of remembering that our inner state shapes the world around us. To awaken Ophiuchus consciousness is not to reject astrology or history, it is to read them symbolically, to see in them a reflection of our inner architecture. Each sign of the zodiac corresponds to a different aspect of the human psyche, a different phase of learning. Ophiuchus adds the 13th step, the recognition that awareness itself is the healer, that every cycle, every incarnation, every story we live is an opportunity to become more whole. When the serpent rises, what happens is not escape but expansion. We begin to perceive life as interconnected. The barriers between the spiritual and the physical soften. The world feels less mechanical and more alive. Every sound becomes a vibration within the same song. Every interaction becomes a mirror. Every moment becomes an invitation to align. This is why so many ancient symbols of healing carry serpents. The rod of Asclepius, the caduceus, the serpent staff of Thoth and Hermes, they all point to the same mystery. Knowledge, like energy, must flow. When it is held rigidly, it stagnates. When it is allowed to move through the channels of awareness, it brings renewal. The serpent's motion through the body mirrors the motion of consciousness through time. The forgotten sign reminds us that awakening is not rebellion against the divine, but reunion with it. The myths of suppression and erasure are metaphors for our own forgetting. Humanity did not lose Ophiuchus because someone removed it from the sky. We lost it because we began to look outward for authority instead of inward for wisdom. The serpent bearer returns when we remember that sovereignty begins within. To live in this awareness does not require abandoning the world. It asks only that we engage with it consciously, to work, to love, to create, while holding the serpent of awareness gently in our grasp. To let it teach us the rhythm of transformation. To remember that every ending carries the seed of renewal. If you look up on a clear night between late November and mid-December, you can find Ophiuchus. He stands above the bright band of the Milky Way, his hands encircling the coiling body of the serpent. It is not a battle, it is a conversation, a reminder written in starlight that knowledge and instinct, heaven and earth, body and spirit are not enemies, but reflections of one another. The forgotten sign was never meant to divide humanity into another label. It was meant to remind us that we cannot be confined by labels at all. We are not the signs that describe us. We are the consciousness that gives them meaning. Ophiuchus stands as an emblem of that realization, a constellation of freedom, healing, and remembrance. As you finish this reflection, take a slow breath. Feel the quiet pulse within you. That movement is life itself, the serpent whispering through every cell. It has never been asleep. It has only been waiting for your awareness. The stars do not demand belief. They ask only that you look up, that you remember what it means to see, and that you recognize yourself in their light. The serpent is rising. The bearer is you.